Hey guys, welcome to the Shine Zone, and this is Shanique. Today I'm going to tell you how to get your driver's license as a foreign citizen. Because you know how difficult it can be, but I have the trick. Anyways, if it's the first time coming to my channel, please remember to subscribe so you can get more information about other stuff in Japan. This is a common topic, and a lot of persons here, a lot of foreigners here have already failed the test. I've heard that people are doing this test like 5 times before passing, and just to save you from all of that ache and the money and the time, I'm going to share with you 3 simple steps and the tips of how to pass the driving test. The first one is gathering all the documents. So, this is very important. Before you even start, the question you should ask yourself is your driver's license from your issuing country and your international license still valid? If none of those are valid, please don't even bother think about it. Don't even think about it, because that itself is an ache. You cannot transfer anything. You have to like do the test, which is a lot more money, like 3,000 US dollars to do the school and the test. They're not going to let you do the test like that. You have to actually go to a school. So it's like 3,000 US dollars. Imagine spending all of that. That's too much money. So to save yourself from the trouble, please ensure that everything is valid before starting this process. First, you need to translate your original license into Japanese. How to do that is to submit your license and an application form to JAF. And this is going to cost you about 3,500 yen. So 3,000 is for the issuing fee and 500 is to send it back to you. So it depending on the country, you might require to submit a residence card or not. But for Jamaicans, you just need to submit the application form and the original driver's license. It might take you like 3 weeks. That's what they say on the form, but it can take you a shorter time. For me, it took like a week, maybe because a lot of persons weren't applying for it at that time. I'm not sure, but I got it in a very short time, which was good for me. And the next thing you need to apply for is the certificate of residence. This you can get at your city hall or your town hall in your community. So this is a pink form to say that you actually live at X, Y, and Z location. Most of you would already have this form from when you just came to Japan, but it has an expiration date, so you have to get one that is current. It's like 500 yen, so don't worry, it's not going to burn your pocket that much, and you can get it at the same time, so you don't have to be waiting for a long time. All right, so there are other documents that you need to get. For Jamaicans, you need about 7 items, and I already listed 2. So the first one was the translated document of your driver's license, certificate of residence. I will put the Japanese name somewhere. Number 3 would be your passport. You need to submit your passport since you're a foreigner. And you need your international driver's license. You need to carry that also when you're going to the interview. Number 5 would be your original driver's license. So I needed to carry that also. Number 6 is the residence card. And number 7, which in this case varies for people for different countries, is your JET application form. Well, if you are an English teacher. Because I'm from Jamaica, I needed more proof than just the passport to state that I had this driver's license 3 months before coming to Japan. So in this case, I had to submit my application form because there was a date when I signed the application form. So they looked at it and they're like, and they looked at my driver's license and they do the comparison and said, okay, it's fair. So this leads us to number two, the interview. So on the interview, you're going to do two things: the submission of the documents and an aptitude test. So the submission of documents are all the documents that I just mentioned to you. You're going to submit them to the driving school center. But before you do that, you need to make an interview before you go. You cannot just pop up. You have to make an interview. In my case, I don't speak Japanese, so I had to make my supervisor do all of that for me. And so if you need help, it's okay. Just ask for it. Cause the last thing you want to do is mess it up. Because money is spending right here. And the time is of essence because everything has an expiration date. So you don't want to waste any time. So make the interview, go to the location that is within your prefecture. You have to go to the one that is within your prefecture. In my case, I live in Nagasaki, so I had to go to Omura because that's the only location in Nagasaki. When I went there, the police would vet all the documents and to ensure that it's up to standard before we can even proceed with the aptitude test. Usually this doesn't take long, but it depends because some of them, like, they want to be super thorough and they would just take their sweet little time with doing this. So the aptitude test, now they're going to give you a sheet of paper and ask you a lot of stuff about your driving history. For example, have you ever met in any accidents? How many hours out of training or learning, and how many study hours you did, which is weird, but what was the procedure when doing the exam? Like, were you able to do the written test? How many questions? What were the type of questions? The format of the questions? If you did it on the road, which side of the road you drove, like how did you start the test, and so forth, which was a little bit weird because when they asked me to do the test, they were like super strict about it in the sense that they took my phone, they took my handbag, and they're like, oh, you need to finish this and you cannot cheat. I'm like, cheat? How the hell can I'm like, this is weird because you cannot cheat. If you did the test, if you did the actual thing, you, what is there? Because they're saying that people actually fail this part of the process. Like, people don't know anything. They don't know what to write on the paper. But that's another story, right? Anyways, so after that, now the police would come and inspect the paper and then ask for any further clarification on what you've written on the paper. If he's satisfied with everything, he would tell you that you have another date to come in to do the actual exam. And that's what happened with me. So the following week, I end up going to the exam. And that is step number 3. So step number 3 now is actually doing the exam. They will give you the timer and everything, but for me, I had to be there from in the morning. I had to do 3 things leading up to the issuance of the driver's license. So the first one was doing the eye test. So it's basically, you're going to get some small circles with some openings, and you need to state where the openings are, if it's up, down, left, right. Simple. Then you're going to do the written test. Because we are converting our license, we get 10 questions. Very simple questions, common sense questions. All you need to do is get 7 out of 10 right. So they're going to give you like a picture and a small scenario, and then you're going to choose which choice is correct because it's multiple choice. So it's very simple, guys. Very simple. In the afternoon, the exam will be in yard, so therefore you will not be going on the public road, which is great. Less pressure and everything. You will be a little bit more comfortable. Based on your location, you'll be receiving a map to do the course, like where to drive and so forth. And just try to study the map, but not too much, because at the end of the day, the instructor will be in the car and they will give you the directions of where to go and so forth. So you don't have to be worrying too much about that. I also have 3 tips that you need to know. Tip number 1: if you know that you're going to do the driving test, as in you're sure that you're going to do the actual testing, start driving like a Japanese. It makes your life easier. Driving like a Japanese, when you're going to work, when you're going on the road or something, it makes your life easier because you're practicing and everything is just registering. Don't be this person like, oh, I already passed my driving test and I can do it. No, don't do that. Do not do that. You will fail. You will fail. And you will fail. Don't do that. Try to drive like a Japanese in the case that you're going to drive on the most left-hand side of the road. Like in Jamaica, they tell you to drive in the center, in the middle of, well, not in the center, but in the middle of your lane. They will tell you to drive in the middle of the lane because you don't want to hit any pedestrians and you don't want to hit the car beside you. So drive in the middle of the lane. In Japan, they're telling you to drive to the extreme left hand side of your lane. Right? So try to drive like that, very close to the white line. Also, to use your 3 mirror check point. So I wasn't taught this back at home, but you have to look in the rear view mirror, the side mirror, and then turn your head to look behind you, which was weird for me because I'm like, why should I turn my head? But anyways, so the aim is to look in the rear view mirror, the side mirror, and behind you, the blind spot. So you need to practice that. So this is why you need to practice before you actually do the test, but so you can remember all of these crazy stuff. Next, tip number 2. This is optional, but I did this because again, I was working with a very short window and I couldn't afford to fail. So tip number 2 is going to a driving school. You're like, why? But what I did was I went to the driving school near my workplace and I took a 1 hour lesson or 1 hour class. So basically, in that lesson, what I did was I told the instructor that I want to drive like we're going to do the exam. So it's like a pre-test before the actual thing. You understood what I was doing. So it's good to explain yourself. In this case, again, I don't speak Japanese, so therefore I had to ask another teacher to assist me, unfortunately. But so so it's a good way. So after I was practicing all of that, I went to the driving school to do a 1 hour test run to get this straight, especially the curve, because most of us won't be exposed to those type of curves that are on or at the examination center. So it makes sense to actually go to the driving school for that 1 hour to actually test out the curving, because the last thing you want to do is mess up that curve that is an automatic fit. Well, you get 3 chances, but you see, after that 3 chances, the instructor will be like, okay, please go back to the original point. It's going to cost you, because for me, that 1 hour was like 5,400 yen. Yeah, it was a little bit pricey for me, but it was worth it because after that, I was exposed to the curves. I knew exactly what the instructor would do the day of the exam. So therefore, I was like already prepared for it. Tip number 3. So on the day of the exam, you're going to have this break, and then the exam is in the afternoon. Take that opportunity to walk the route, walk the course of the exam. It's very important. Luckily, I did that with my supervisor, and because of that, I realized that at one point of the route there was a hill, and at the hill there was an intersection. So imagine now me doing the exam and just thinking it was a regular hill, because it's not like there's a stoplight or anything. It's just one of those country road. It looks like that, where nothing, there's no notification or anything like that. So therefore, and because it's a hill, you're going to automatically be speeding so the car can actually go up the hill. So because of that, I knew exactly where to stop. And it so happened that when I was doing the exam, the instructor realized I was moving a little bit slow going up the hill, and she was like, speed up, speed up. So I speed up. I stopped right before I entered the mid part of the intersection. She even apologized because she was saying that, oh, I told you to speed up. Luckily, you recognized that it was an intersection and you stopped. Well, the reason why I did that because I already knew there was an intersection. So that helped out my situation a lot. Unfortunately, when doing the exam, it depending on your name, your last name, you might have another passenger in the car with you apart from the instructor. So that will make you a little bit uncomfortable. Luckily, my last name is Wilson, so therefore I was the last person. On that day, it was just three foreigners, and I was the last one. And the one before me, she failed badly. And I felt it for her because at that time she was telling me that it was her fourth time or something. So she was a little bit depressed. Oh, there are points where they're going to ask you like to speed up and so forth. Remember to keep to the speed limit 50. Just keep to 50. You will be fine just keeping at 50. And remember, just drive like a beginner. Always ensure that you use all your indicators and you're looking right, left, right again, or vice versa. When you're entering the car, please ensure that you slightly open the door after you're looking right and left to see that the coast is clear, and then you take time and slide in, close the door. No, you look outside again before you close the door properly, because you don't want to hit a child or anything like that. Yes, they're extra like that. And then after that, you're going to adjust the driving seat. Even though it might be okay for you, still adjust it. It's not going to kill you. Adjust it same way. Then after that, you're going to put on your seatbelt and check your rearview mirror. Ensure that the side mirrors are okay. You should ensure that the passenger wearing seatbelts also. Before you even drive off, you look right, left, and then you slowly take off and do your necessary turning, putting on the indicators and so forth. When you're coming back, there are some poles there that she would tell you like to stop at the red post or the green or blue. She would tell you the color, or he would tell you the color, and you just stop there and turn off the car, take off the seatbelt, and before you open the door, you look and just slightly open the door and then take your time and come out. So at that time, she told me, "Oh, come back in the car." I'm like, oh, okay, what is the news now? What's the verdict? The two other persons never passed. So I'm like, oh God, what did I do wrong now? Oh, you pass. You know, I don't know what came over me, but all I could do that moment was cry. I sat in the driver's seat and cry. And my supervisor came out. She was like, what happened? Because she thought I failed. I'm like, no, no, sister. No. So on that day, I spent about nearly 5,000 yen to do the test and the driver's license. So when I was taking my picture, a guy and another Japanese person saw me, who I don't know, just saw me and asked my supervisor if I passed, because you have to be in a specific room to be taking the picture, and the only persons who are there are the persons who are passed. So he was asking her, she passed? And she said, yes. And then he said, isn't it her first time? And my supervisor said, yes. Then this man started this big excitement in the people then place, talking about Sugoi. So I'm like there shaking my head. This man really thought I was going to fail? Really? Mm-mm. He never heard the power of a real black woman. But enough of my storytelling. Just follow those simple steps and the tips, and you'll be fine. Read the book. I would recommend you reading the book. Although you think you know everything, read the book same way. Read the book and practice like a Japanese. Driving like a Japanese. Practice, 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 because it makes a lot of difference. And if you really want to ace that test, go to the driving school for that 1 hour after doing that practice, and let if and even ask the instructor for any advice on how you were driving and so forth. It helps you out a lot, because the driving course at the schools are similar to the one at the examination center. So just do that and your life will be easier. With that said, I am out. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment on my video. Until next time, see you. Sayonara.